Lesson 6-5, completing the square. The big idea is by adding a number to an expression of the form x squared plus bx, you can create a new expression that is a square of a binomial. So by using these two things, what's going to happen is you're going to use the second term to create our third term. And then what happens in essence forms our binomial squared problem into its perfect square trinomial. It says you have now seen two forms of the equation of a parabola. Standard form, which is our trinomial pattern, and vertex form. Okay? And you're going to want to memorize these vertex forms because it's going to be very useful for you later on. So please take a moment, look at these vertex forms, and understand that h comma k is your vertex. A tells you if it's going upwards or concave up or concave down, etc., etc. It says because each form is useful, being able to convert between forms is helpful. In 6-4, you saw how to convert vertex form to standard form. In this lesson, we're going to see how to convert standard form to vertex form. So we're going to take this standard form and put it into vertex form. What is completing the square? One method for converting standard form to vertex form is called completing the square. Remember that. X plus h squared. Square this number, and then take 2 times x times h, and gives you your middle term. The trinomial x squared plus 2hx plus h squared is called the perfect square trinomial because it is the square of a binomial. At the right, you can see that x squared plus 2hx plus h squared is the area of a square with side length x plus h. Okay, x plus h, and all these added together is going to give you this. Now, the reason why we have from vertex form to standard form, or from standard form to vertex form, is you're going to take a standard form and then put it into this quantity squared. So that's why we have completing the square. To complete the square, it's actually a very easy process. To complete the square on x squared plus bx, all you have to do is add. You take the number that b is, divided by 2, and then square it. Where I come from, normally what we call this is x squared plus bx plus c. And so we say to find c, all you have to do is take b divided by 2 and square it. Okay? And that gives you your third term. So example 1 says, what number should be added to x squared plus 6x to make a perfect square trinomial? Well, what needs to be added to this is simply, here's our b is 6, so I take my c is 6 divided by 2 and square it. Well, what's 6 divided by 2? 6 divided by 2 is 3. Square it is 9. Okay, so this is A. Okay. B says write the perfect square trinomial as the square of a binomial. Okay, so we need some binomial squared. Well, how do you get that? Well, if you remember the process before, we always squared this one, took 2 times this to give me my middle term. So yeah, essentially all I have to do is take the square root of this. Square root of x squared is x. Square root of 9 is 3. Sign in the middle is plus, and that is my square of my binomial of my perfect square. Example 2 says, rewrite the equation y equals x squared plus 12x plus 3 in vertex form. If you notice, y equals x squared plus 12x plus 3, we have to get it into some quantity squared, and if you notice, you cannot take the square root of 3. Since you can't take the square root of 3, what I need to do is move this 3 over to the left-hand side, so I'm going to subtract. So y minus 3 now is equal to x squared plus 12x. Okay? And if you see here, what we want is a 1 right here in front of the x squared. If this doesn't have a 1 in front of the x squared, what you have to do is divide by whatever that number is. Since there's a 1 in front of this x squared, we need to go ahead and find c. Okay? So c is going to be equal to b divided by 2 squared. Well, what's b? b is 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6 squared is 36. Now, here's a point of interest to remember. If I add 36 on this side, I have to add 36 over on my left-hand side. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. I created the 36, so I add 36 here. I have to add 36 here. So this now becomes y is 36 minus 3 is 33 is equal to x squared plus 12x plus 36, which we all know now is our perfect square trinomial. So take the square root of this is x, take the square root of 36 is 6, and the sign in the middle is plus. And now we are in vertex form. So now that we're in vertex form, we know our vertex is, remember it's y minus k is equal to x minus h squared. So I know my vertex is a negative 6, comma, negative 33. And that is my vertex. So this is B right here. Let's look at example 3. Suppose a ball is thrown straight up from a height of 12 feet with initial velocity of 32 feet per second. The ball's height, y, after x seconds is given by the formula y equals a negative 16x squared plus 32x plus 12. A says rewrite the formula in the vertex form of the equation for a parabola. Okay? So once again, y equals negative 16x squared plus 32x, okay, plus 12. Obviously, this is not a perfect square trinomial because I can't find the square root of 12. So once again, I got to move 12 over to this side, so I'm going to subtract 12. And now what I need to do, since I said I need to have a 1 here, okay, I need to take a negative 16 out. So when I divide by a negative 16, I'm left with x squared minus 16x, okay, which is very important, okay. So I have my a, this is my a, this is my perfect square trinomial. I just got to find my c. So I got to take a negative 16 divided by 2 and square it. So negative 16 divided by 2 is a negative 8. A negative 8 squared is 64. Now, what did I actually add here? Well, I actually added a negative 16 times 64. Yeah, I didn't just add 64. This is very important. You all need to pay attention. I didn't add 64. What I added was a negative 16 times 64, which is actually a negative 1,024. So if I subtract 1,024 on this side, I have to subtract 1,024 from this side. And if you notice, this is my perfect square, so this is x, this is 8 squared, and the sign in the middle is negative. Okay? So, y minus 12 minus 1,024 is y minus 1,036 equals a negative 16 times quantity x minus 8 squared. So, what is my vertex, or what does it say is the maximum height? Okay, well, y minus k is equal to a times x minus h squared. And so my vertex is h comma k, so it's 8 comma 1036. So what this point is saying, this is my vertex, and what this is saying at time 8 seconds, my max height is 1036. That's all I have for you today. Please enjoy. Please pay attention to this one part right here with your c, a negative 16 times 64, okay, to get your answer. That's all I have for you today. Please enjoy.